It is starting now. We'll take just a few seconds. And the live stream is started.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'll call to order the Tuesday, March 8th TAC meeting. Could you do the statement regarding virtual meetings, Mr. Parsons, please?
Sure. We are meeting virtually. We're using the Zoom webinar platform. So there is the capability for anyone to attend from the public. There is a link at the top of the agenda. If anyone who is watching on YouTube would like to join and ask questions, you can use that link to register, and you will be sent a Zoom link to join the webinar. We do have a Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Anyone who is an attendee who would like to ask a question of the TAC during the meeting, please enter your question in the Q&A, and staff will be monitoring that as we move forward. As I said, we are live streaming on YouTube as well. And at this point, I don't believe we have anyone from the public that is in attendance outside of the regular TAC members.
Okay, thank you, Chet. Would you take the roll call, please, Janice?
Yes, ma'am. Town of Ashland, Miss Amos.
Here.
Thank you. Charles City County, Miss Russell. Chesterfield County, Miss Smith.
Here.
Miss Walker. Goochland County, Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Mr. Goyne.
Here.
Hanover County, Mr. Vadunez.
Here.
Mr. Flagg. Henrico County, Vice Chair Smidler.
Here.
Mr. Yor. New Kent County, Chair LeDuc.
Here.
Powhatan County, Mr. Shardine.
Here.
City of Richmond, Miss Clark. Mr. Bridewell.
Here.
Thank you. Capital Region Airport Commission, Mr. Rutledge. DRPT, Ms. Dubinsky. Mr. Sparks. GRTC, Ms. Sink.
Present.
Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Thank you. Plan RVA, Mr. Parsons.
Here.
Mr. Ariel. I believe he's with us. We'll go back and check. Ride Finders, Ms. Tisdale. Mr. O'Keefe.
Here.
RMTA, Ms. Simmons. VDOT, Ms. McAdory. Ms. Mueller.
Here.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call, and we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I believe we do have a few amendments to the agenda. Chet, if you want to go over those.
Yes, thank you. Maybe before I do that, looks like Mr. Goyne has a question.
Oh. Not used to the,
No, I think that was
Hello.
an inadvertent button push on my end. Sorry about that.
Okay.
okay.
All right. We have two amendments to the agenda to consider. I did send out an email late yesterday afternoon containing two letters of support that are being requested to be reviewed by TAC. One is from City of Richmond, one is from Henrico County, both in support of raised grant applications. This is timely because the due date for these grant applications is in April. So I think both jurisdictions would like TAC today to take a look at the letters and provide a recommendation for possible action at the April Policy Board meeting. So the letters could be signed and turned in as part of the applications. If anyone needs that email, did not see it, please let me know in the chat and I can forward it along to you, but fairly straightforward. Madam Chair, I'd be happy to go through the letters if everyone has had a chance to look at them. If it's not necessary, then that's fine too. I'm sure, I mean, both jurisdictions are with us today. So if you wanted any information straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, I'm sure Ms. Smidler or or Mr. Bradwell would be happy to provide some more information.
Yeah, go ahead if you want to, you guys.
Henrico County is planning on applying for a RAISE grant to redo the Scott Road Bridge over I-95. It's currently very low and has a history of being hit. The Scott Road Bridge is an overpass on 95 just north of Parham. Green City is going into the east that has a big arena and a lot of retail space, about a $250 million arena to serve the Central Virginia region, 2 hotels, 2,400 housing units, 280,000 square feet of retail space, 2 million square feet of office space. So this would be like a green pedestrian bridge over 95 and bicycle. And if there's any questions, just feel free to ask. Thank you.
Madam
Thank you,
Chair, I
Karen.
apologize. I moved right into the the action item instead of considering where we were in the agenda. The other point to the other item that needs to be added to the agenda is a consideration of a discussion on FY 23 to 28 Rstp Cmac and the allocation plan, and Mr. Bushing is prepared to lead that. I apologize, Ms. Smidler. I'm sure there's a chance if the body approves the amendments to the agenda, we can have conversation about the 2 letters at the appropriate time.
That's a good point. Thanks for keeping us straight. Okay, so we'll move those items, if they're approved, to be added to, do we do it before the TPO update, before item 5? Or do you want to do the, Miles, do you want to do the other one after that?
We have guests with us this morning to cover item 6. I would recommend putting it after item 6.
Item 6, okay, perfect. Okay, can we have a motion to amend the agenda then to add those 2 items as 6A and 6B?
This is Sharon with Henrico. I make a motion to amend the agenda to add those 2 items to the agenda.
All right, thank you, Sharon.
Diana Moore Clark, Richmond, second.
All right, thanks, Dayrona. Can we just take a voice vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you all. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. February 22nd minutes are in your packets. If there are any questions, please ask them now. Otherwise, we'll take a motion to approve.
This is Barb Smith. I'll make a motion to approve the February meeting minutes.
Okay, thank you, Barb. Is there a second?
John O'Keefe, I'll second.
Thank you, John. All in favor of approving the minutes from February 22nd, say aye.
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 All right, thank you, everyone. Have we had anyone join the public comment in the last few minutes, Chet?
No, we don't have anyone registered or participating.
Okay, thank you. Chairman's report, I don't have a report. And we'll go to item 5, TPO update.
Thank you. Just quickly, the current work efforts were included in your packet on page 7. I'm not going to address those unless there are any particular questions. Item 5B, I wanted to bring everybody up to speed. Last week, the TPO Policy Board met and considered the recommendations of TAC for the 12 pre-applications to be entered into the regional smart scale pool, and those were approved. There was also an additional action. We have learned in the past week and a half that Plan RVA, as the PDC for this region, is also eligible for applications. And they are eligible for 4 full applications, 5 pre-applications. So the policy board took action upon staff recommendation to provide support as needed to Plan RVA to submit 5 pre-applications for an additional 5 projects. And what we did was take the remaining 4 projects that TAC considered at its February 22nd meeting, the special meeting that were left off the list, and then added in 1 additional project from the last round of Smart Scale, the 288 northbound hard shoulder running project from Powhatan to Goochland as suggestions for Plan RVA to consider. So the next step in the action, since this is a Plan RVA decision, is that I will present that direction from the policy board when the Plan RVA Commission meets this Thursday, the 10th. And I believe that is at 8 or 8:30 is when the executive committee meets. So the recommendation from the policy board was that staff will support the commission in submitting the pre-applications and will be there to help when the final 4 applications are decided upon in the full application period. Again, the recommendation was to use the 5 projects that I highlighted as the projects to submit. This is a little confusing because we weren't aware of this capability before. So if anybody has any questions, I'm sure most people were tuned in and have been aware of this for as many days as I have. So be happy to take any questions or comments at this point, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chet. Any questions from the TAC?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Diana.
Hi,
I just
Dara.
had a quick comment on the pre-application. We briefly had brought up how we're gonna move from pre-application to, application selection. And so I just wanted to put that before the committee to see if we're gonna begin to think about how we are gonna select the projects once the pre-application project process is completed. And I know Sharon, she had, some of the same questions. And so again, we're just trying to figure out how we go from pre-app. If all of 12 or however many go through, how will we get to 10? Do we all think it's going to be fairly easy?
Yeah, and Madam Chair, this is Sharon with Henrico, and sorry, Joe was polite and raised his hand. I agree with Dirona. It seems like we might need some alternates to work out or try to see how it is or how difficult it will be for us to narrow it down.
Yep, go ahead, Joe.
That's fine, Sharon. One of the thoughts I had just kind of off the top of my head would be that if there were some applications that have been submitted in previous rounds that are among the 17 that we're considering and they didn't score, that they would be the first to be considered to be dropped, given that they didn't score in previous rounds. Kind of speaks to maybe the probability that they would score, unless something has changed. Let's not submit, don't take this the wrong way, but a loser project a second time just to find that it's not going to score.
Go ahead, Barb. I see your hand up.
I don't, every round is different in Smart Scale, so I don't know necessarily that we can make an assessment on a project, how it scored the previous round and how it will score in this round. So I don't know if I can just buy into that. It's certainly a consideration, but there's probably other things that we should be considering also.
Well, I'm definitely not the expert in this, so if anyone else would like to chime in.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is Chet. I've been thinking about this a lot since last Thursday. And
Okay.
I think the TAC decision is fairly easy. I mean, we're essentially going to finally decide on the 10 highest scoring projects to submit as full applications. I think the question is what happens.
There's no score in the pre-application process.
I'm sorry. I think I didn't mean to misspeak, Barb. I think we're eventually going to be submitting 10 applications that the TAC feels most comfortable with as a full application. The question is what happens with the remaining 2 applications that were submitted in the pre-app, and whether how that fits in with Plan RVA's applications. So I think if it's TAC's interest, I can craft a communication for Thursday's meeting with Plan RVA that can accompany the action taken by the policy board to work in that there will be 2 remaining projects that could be considered by Plan RVA. And I mean, I think we still need to work with VDOT and OIP to figure out if there is a way to have those 11 and 12 projects considered in the Plan RVA applications. Does that make sense?
Go ahead, Barb.
So the TAC took a look at a list of projects and had sort of a simple prioritization of those 12. And then if for some reason we had to drop 2 of those off of the TPO's 10 for final, those would move into the first 2 slots of the Plan RVA. And then those last 2 projects would fall off. Right.
Yes. I think the question for me is procedurally, can 2 projects that were included in the TPO's list be moved over to Plan RVA's list in the full application period? And my hope is that there is some type of allowance because we're the same organization, essentially. So whether that can work by the rules or not is what I think we need to figure out.
Yeah, I'm not very hopeful that's going to work, but.
Go ahead, Joe.
So just to clarify, because I don't know, but it would seem to me that TAC, this body, would only be able to provide a recommendation to Plan RVA. I mean, it's not, we don't have the authority to change the 5 or ultimately the 4 applications if they do choose to submit, but it would only be a recommendation at that point. So we could recommend, as Chet was saying, that whatever 2 drop off, that they be included in Plan RVAs, but that doesn't mean that would happen. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to speak to VDOT and OIP and see what they have to say about that, Chet? Let us know.
Yes, I plan to do that. I mean, I think the next step is to introduce the 5 projects at the Plan RVA meeting on Thursday and see if there is support for those 5 pre-apps. But at this point, I think there's also some CBTA projects that may impact Smart Scale, and it seems like there are a lot of balls in the air during this pre-app window, which may impact the ultimate applications that are submitted. So staff will certainly do the homework that's necessary and try and figure out at least something to stand on as we move forward.
Madam Chair, this is Nicole.
Yeah, go ahead, Nicole. I see a couple of people with hands up too.
Yeah, I'd be happy to check on that scenario, whether or not, two projects, possibly 11 and 12 from TPO could be moved over to Plan RBA's final 4 list. I'd be happy to check on that for you guys.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nicole. I don't know who was first, Joe.
Austin may speak. I've already spoken a couple times.
Okay, Austin, go ahead.
All right, I guess my question is, if the last 2 projects, 11 and 12, kind of kick into, if it's allowed to kick into Plan RBA's 1 and 2 slots, are we inherently saying that the applications for Plan RBA are lesser than the TPO applications?
I had a hard time hearing that question. Chet, did you get that?
Yeah, I think the question was, is it inherent that the Plan RBA applications are lesser than the TPO applications? And I think I wouldn't say they're lesser, but
Well, I think if the last two projects take the first 2 spots, then to me it seems that the applications Plan RBA is going to submit are inherently just lesser projects in general. If that's how it's going to work, that's just how it occurs to me.
yes, I think the TAC discussion has been which projects stand up the best. And that's what went into coming up with a list of 12 pre-applications. But if other members think differently, then I'm happy to change that.
Joe, did you still want to say something?
Yes, yeah, so
Okay.
just a couple last final comments on this is, number one is, we might be best just to see how things play out. It's very possible that a project could be deemed not to qualify for eligibility. It could also, through this process, some adjustments be made through the review process to estimates or whatever that also may change our thinking about certain projects. So I think we have some time on that. And back to Austin's point, I don't really see it as inferior. My view is that Smart Scale is such a black box that we have no idea how any of these projects are going to shake out. As Barb pointed out, they change the metrics every year. So it's really just a roll of the dice, in my opinion. And I don't know that any of us could sit here and look at that 10 and make any reasonable presumption about which ones are going to score better than others. I really don't.
Okay. Sharon, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicole, for looking into that. And I just wanted to clarify that the way they're listed, the pre-apps are listed like 11 and 12. They are not in priority order from my understanding. So just wanted to clarify that. And we'll need to drop 3 total of the Plan RVA and TPO pre-apps for going to final. And I think, and Joe makes a good point. We'll have to see, how it plays out. But I think some of the jurisdictions who are submitting, in case that doesn't happen, each maybe jurisdiction that should think about one, they may need to drop. So that's all.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak on this? Chet?
I just wanted to clarify that, does anyone have any concerns about me communicating with the commission on Thursday about the 5 projects? And is there anything else that needs to be shared at this point?
Chet, this is Tyrona. I guess the question is, just with some of the conversation, is when you communicate the 5 projects, if you're going to say that there's ability for that to change, if you're going to go with potentially the 2 being recommended to come over, but I don't know if that's been squashed for the conversation or not. But it just seems that somewhat of what you're saying is that those 5 could change based on if 2 are carried over or requested to be carried over.
So my recommendation is that I should report on what the TPO did, which was discuss the 5 projects for pre-app. And if it turns out that we find out through Nicole's research that there is some flexibility between TPO and Plan RVA, then that might be a suggestion for the full application. I mean, Joe made a good point that we do have a little bit of time. So I think being as clear as possible with the commission, since they haven't experienced smart scale before, is pretty important right now.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right. Thanks everybody for that discussion. Did you have anything else, Chet, for item 5?
No, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. All right. Let's move on to item 6. I believe we have Eric Tang and Stephen Reed with us to talk about the Richmond Regional Transportation Safety Plan.
Yes, good morning, everybody. This is Stephen. Glad to be with you. I'm just going to give a 2-minute introduction and then hand the screen back to Eric Tang from VHB, who is and his team who has supported us on this effort. Can you all see my screen? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of background on regional and local safety plans. Back a little over 15 years ago, with Safety Lou, Federal Highways started promoting through its everyday counts, proven safety countermeasures. And along the way, they've added local road safety plans. But they actually started as regional safety plans. Minnesota did their construction district plans early on. Louisiana did MPO safety plans, and they actually embedded safety staff, safety money and safety staff into the MPOs down in Louisiana, and found some really good results. And they sort of trickled down to the local level, the jurisdiction level. And you can see on their website some of the reductions they've seen in some of the counties by doing these plans. And essentially, a lot of those plans promoted sort of systemic low-cost treatments, spread across the network. So Federal Highways has a great roadmap, a great website on developing local road safety plans. And it starts by identifying your key stakeholders. Of course, here at the regional level, we had the working group that was stood up, and this study came out of that. But at the local level, if you can see here, let me zoom in a bit. You can see there's other stakeholders outside of your traditional planning and engineering types to add law enforcement, public health, EMS, teachers, elected officials, etc., into promoting safety and understanding safety. And then the first thing is really to look at the data, and that's essentially what we did with this study, was have a deep dive into the data regionally and for each of your jurisdictions that you're going to see today. And at the end of the study, we start to identify some of those proven countermeasures. So a lot on the infrastructure side that you see on Federal Highways website here with the other proven countermeasures, and then from NHTSA on the behavioral side, from their documentation that's called Countermeasures That Work, proven countermeasures for improving user behavior. And so essentially the plan covers these first 3 guide signs here along your journey, where we've identified the proven countermeasures, but it's up to you all to start to choose those and work together to submit those, like you just talked about. What is a good sort of systemic type improvement for HSIP, or perhaps a lower cost one through TAP or some other funding source, revenue sharing. And then the more expensive sort of asphalt, concrete, and steel that you would need for a smart scale application to implement those. So today Eric's going to walk us through the document and the work that we've been doing almost over a year ago when we first initiated our conversations to this. It's taken us some time, primarily because we've been working on our statewide strategic highway safety plan, but we're glad to present to you the final document. So Eric, I'm going to stop sharing. And if you could share your screen and take us through what we've prepared. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. Can everyone see the cover page?
Yes.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Eric Tang of VHB, the project manager on the consultant side, supporting Stephen in his office, and ultimately, obviously, the Richmond region with the development of this effort. So really happy to help out with this. And we'll just spend a few minutes here walking through the document and address any questions that you have from what you're seeing. So yes, it's really a great opportunity for the region to look at things at a regional level. And of course, the city of Richmond has its Vision Zero plan. And, admittedly, that was certainly something that really helped set the stage for greater coordination. And, with the Vision Zero work group being the champion of leading this document through, we have these results to share with you. And, another reason why to do it, right, is that we recognize that people, come in and out of the city of Richmond. You can analyze all the crashes in the city, but, people live in Henrico, they live in Goochland, they live in Chesterfield. So looking at things at a regional context, that really helps to address transportation safety across the region. And a lot of us here in the room probably are thinking of more the infrastructure side of things, but safety is more than that. When we look at a complete or safe systems approach, looking at the various components of safety, that includes safe roads, safe road users, post-crash care, safe vehicles, and all those working together. We need to acknowledge that, from a behavioral standpoint, we are putting together some sort of safety awareness campaign is not just dedicated to the city, right? Your media market stretches over several counties. So in a regional effort like this would be really helpful to help focus your resources to the greatest needs in the region. So when we go into this document here, and I know it's on the full page look right now. If you need me to zoom in deeper on certain things, I'll be happy to do so when we get to those points. So, okay, we have the table of contents, and then we have the introduction element here, describing why we're developing this plan, what inspired the effort. And throughout the document, you'll see clickable links. Like, for example, in this first paragraph, there's a link to the safe system approach, the 5 elements that I was telling you, that I mentioned a few moments ago, and how that influences how we think about safety. Of course, needless to say, we have an overview map that shows the region that we're covering. And we acknowledge in the second and third page that the region has a responsibility of setting safety targets or adopting safety targets, whether they want to do it on their own or they go ahead and use the targets developed by the Commonwealth or VDOT and running along with it. And we also describe here at the bottom of this page here, the Cabco scale, how crashes are organized or identified by their severity, K being the worst, being the fatal injury, so being killed, all the way down to the PDO or the O level crashes, which are property damage. But we will say that our focus in this report is those more severe crashes, your fatal injury, your suspected serious injury, and certain cases, your suspected minor injury. We try to focus on the Ks and As from a safe system analysis standpoint, because those are most severe types of crashes. But for those areas where we don't have enough Ka crashes, we try to take a look at the next level down, just to make sure that we have a large enough universe of crashes to help identify contributing factors. So provide some general statistics for the region, how the number of fatal and serious injury crashes of the Ks and As have been trending over the last 5 years. Our analysis period for this document was for the last 5 full years of available finalized crash data, which was from 2016 to 2020. And at the bottom there is just a graph to show the individual components, so the fatal, serious injury, and the suspect the B level crashes. Since this is a MPO report, we wanted to show in this graphic here how this region compares to the other MPOs across the Commonwealth. All right, so then we show here how we considered the various emphasis areas at the state through the state SHSP, the Strategic Highway Safety Plan for the state. And again, we have a link that connects to the SHSP webpage hosted by VDOT. So we acknowledge that the emphasis areas that we tried to consider in this regional plan runs the gamut of impaired driving, speed, occupant protection, so using your safety belts, roadway departure, intersections, young drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians. That really helped to identify the various contributing factors in crashes. And we also want to show how they relate to each other, because on the next page, what we're trying to show here is that crashes aren't mutually, or the crash factors aren't mutually exclusive. There are relationships. Like, for example, you can have a crash that involves an impaired driver who's not wearing a seatbelt and has run off the road. So you have multiple factors in a crash. What these graphics show here is just a two-dimensional analysis, just showing relationships between two factors. For example, to read this, we have italicized text underneath that top graphic. To read this table, so if we look at speeding crashes, you can say from a read vertically, 27% of speeding crashes. So we read the speed column, 27% of those speed crashes in the region involve impaired driving. Now, this top table is for those fatal and serious injury crashes, your Ks and As. The lower table is for the Ks, As, and Bs, just to give you a different way of looking at the information if we incorporate a lower severity level, and how the K and A analysis is slightly different than the KB analysis. This graphic here is the triple Venn diagram, if you will, to show how three factors relate to each other. So you can see impaired driving, speed, and occupant protection as an example, how they overlay with each other, and that in the center, 65 crashes in the region, or 2%, involve all three factors. But you can see that we have a percentage on the bottom corner there that 55% actually of the crashes don't involve any of these three factors. Again, this is for your Ks and As. Just some temporal analysis to show that most crashes, more of your crashes occur the late afternoon or early evening hours, just from interaction standpoint between drivers, those leaving work and those who are proceeding to move to post-work activities or post-school activities. What you see here is the graphic for the region, and that shows the K, A, and B Ks and A crashes. The Ks are the red dots, and the serious injury crashes are the blue dots. The point of this image here is to show a high injury network. So you see the thick black lines; those are your jurisdictional boundaries. There are thinner black lines that you probably recognize. Some of them fall under U.S. routes or other state routes, but also several other roadways. This is what we're calling the high injury network. we tried to use this graphic to show what small proportion of the regional roadway network is the location of the majority or a really large share of your fatal and serious injury crashes. So the point being, where is there a way to focus your limited resources or limited finances on safety to really a smaller subset of corridors? Because you want to provide some targeted type investment rather than just chasing dots all over a map. This map shows that, and what you see behind these dots and lines are some shaded census blocks. These census block groups, are your high health opportunity index block groups. So that analysis has been conducted by the Virginia Department of Health, and this basically takes into account number of health oriented outcomes. The darker shade for a block group indicates poor health outcomes for residents of that jurisdiction. So the idea here was to show, is there correlation between the high injury network and those health opportunity index very low scores, the dark shaded areas. And we do see that primarily within the city of Richmond limits, but there are some darker shade block groups outside of the city as well. We also want to leverage some other analyses conducted by VDOT, which is the Pedestrian Safety Action Plan. This is a zoomed out image of the region just to show corridors that are ranked highly in the top percentiles of the Pedestrian Safety Action pedestrian network. So basically those corridors that have a higher propensity with pedestrian crashes and bicyclist crashes as well. So this is just to give a highlight for the region. The subsequent pages actually show images of the high injury network, the health opportunity index zones, the PSAP images, all for the 9 individual jurisdictions. And that's where we are now. So the next few pages, I'm going to use Ashland as an example here, but for each of the 9 jurisdictions, we have those crosstab tables that you saw for the region earlier. We have them developed for each locality. We also have the high injury network map. We also have the PSAP map. So we'll just show you, in this case, for Ashland, we show the table. Since Ashland is a smaller jurisdiction, we needed to look at K, A, and B level crash just to make sure that we had enough crashes to analyze these interrelationships between factors. And then we, underneath each table of these colorful tables, you see that we highlighted those emphasis areas that would probably be of greatest interest to the locality, because those are the ones had the highest proportion of crashes in that locality. So then the next page for Ashland here, we have an image of the locality. We have the high health opportunity index shading block groups. We have the high injury network, which are those thin black lines. And then of course, we just have the dots for the crashes on this image. And then what we show after that map is a table showing the corridors that were highlighted by those thin black lines. So identified in this case for Ashland, 3 corridors where you have the large proportion of crashes. So in this case, on 54, US 1, and 657, just those 3 corridors alone, when you look at the KA crash percentage column, just those 3 routes alone represent 72% of your fatal and serious injury crashes. And that also only represents 5.3% of the miles in the locality, which is the last column. So you can see that we're really trying to target those corridors with your notable crash frequency issues. So we have that. We have the PSAT map. Let me actually zoom to one with 3 colors on it. Okay, I'll go to the Richmond one here. So this is the this is the Henrico map. This is the Pset map, the type of Pset map that we have for each locality. So this is one for Henrico. There are 3 colors that are shown. The idea is that we want to show which corridors are in the top 5%, not only for the region, but also for the locality. So anything that is gold color happens to be in the top 5%, so the 95th percentile, if you will, of both the region and for the locality itself. Anything that is blue is in the top 5% of the locality. So you see a lot of blue within the city of Richmond there, because Richmond has many corridors that are pedestrian bicyclist oriented. So they certainly show up because that's where your concentration of such transportation system users are located. And then the red lines are the top 5% for that jurisdiction. So you can see down in Chesterfield on the bottom left, they have a lot of red corridors. They're not showing up at a regional level, but within Chesterfield itself, these red lines represent the top 5 percentile within Chesterfield. All right, I'll zoom back out. So we have these tables and maps for all 9. And then closer to the end of the document, we basically show based on the data analysis that we've shown to you, there are potential countermeasures that the jurisdiction can consider to address identified crash concerns. So we've grouped these activities or actions or countermeasures, under sort of topic areas. We drew from national resources such as NHTSA's, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's Countermeasures at Work, that enumerates a number of behavioral-oriented activities to address driver behavior issues, seatbelt use, impaired driving, distracted driving, et cetera. We also drew from examples from the National Cooperative Highway Research Program, the NCHRP 500 series reports that also documents a whole series of countermeasures. And we also drew on Federal Highway Administration's proven safety countermeasures. There are 28 of them. They were most recently updated at the end of October last year. As you saw from Stephen Reed's slide earlier, these local road safety plans are actually one of the 28 PSCs. We also want to note that there is a Cmf Clearinghouse, which documents the estimated percent reduction, if you will, based on the application of a treatment. Now, VDOT does have its own CMFs that count for, let's say you put in lay down a rumble strip. What is that percent reduction in crash frequency after the application? So, Stephen Reed has more information on that if you're interested. So on this page, you see a listing of potential behavioral countermeasures. Then the next page, we start discussing infrastructure countermeasures, we list a whole bunch of bullets here. So for your consideration. So when you've moved on to the next level, once you've identified the corridors that you want to fund your projects on, and you want to submit your projects, let's say for a smart scale, you can basically draw upon the data analysis and draw upon these example countermeasures, and then set up your application for funding for smart scale. And then from the behavioral side, right, the Virginia DMV administers those behavioral safety grants. So you can also use the data analysis to help inform where you want to have more targeted type of activities for maybe a certain demographic or a certain type of or a certain corridor or whatnot. And just to show how the various the systemic safety plan from VDOT, it has 8 safety countermeasures listed there. We just want to show how those 8 fit within the various emphasis areas that we described in this report. And then at the end, we just have some brief discussion of how to implement the plan. So we already talked about the grants just now, and then having the Vision Zero work group, continue its efforts to monitor progress so that this effort isn't sitting on a shelf. It's hopefully it'll be referred to in the years ahead, and then having it updated, as new data comes into, once new data is available for analysis, maybe that'll help identify additional trends or revisions to what you're seeing. We will say that there is mapping. The layers that you saw in this document for all the maps, they're being made available and hosted through VDOT. So you'll be able to click on various layers to show the HIN, the health opportunity index, as well as the various crash dots. So that's just being wrapped up. We have it all packaged up, and hopefully it'll be available to you soon. So that's in a nutshell a walkthrough of the document. Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Eric or Stephen? Okay. Thank you, guys. Did you have some more to present, or is that it?
Nope,
No,
that is it. And
Okay.
hopefully this can also help you inform some of your decisions for the next round of Smart Scale. Since this is a regional analysis that drills down a little bit in more detail than what you'll see on VTrans needs for safety, the layers that are on VTrans midterm needs. You can also quote this as a resource when you're submitting. So please feel free to do that for this round.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Chet.
I just want to say, I think, hopefully I'm speaking for the work group. This is a huge advancement for our region. It's not something that we've had before. And I really wanted to thank Stephen and Eric and their team for working through this with us. I think there's a lot of great regional cooperation that took place to get us to where we are today. And I'm excited about the next steps and being able to utilize this plan as part of our decision-making process on all kinds of different things. So thanks to everybody that's been involved. And there is an action item.
There's a what?
There's an action item.
Oh, okay. Okay, the action item, we need a motion to recommend that the policy board adopt this safety plan.
Barb Smith, so moved.
All right, thank you, Barb. Is there a second?
Sharon Smidler, second.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, should we do a roll call for this one? Janice, please.
Yes. Miss Amos,
Aye.
Miss Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Coleman,
Aye.
Mr. Vadunez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Smidler,
Aye.
Chair LeDuc,
Aye.
Mr. Chardine,
Aye.
Miss Clark,
Aye.
Ms. Dubinsky, Miss Sink,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. O'Keefe,
Aye.
and Miss Mueller.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes the roll call for that item, and it passed.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Eric and Stephen. We're going to circle back now to the several items that were added at the beginning of our meeting. First, we'll go with request to take action on the letters of support for Henrico and Richmond raise grants. And if there's anything that Sharon or Dyrona or Travis want to say before we take action. Or Chet, or anyone. Okay, if someone would like to make a motion then?
This is Diana. I'll make a motion that we approve for recommendation the two raised letters of support for Henrico and Richmond.
All right, thanks, Diana. Is there a second?
Sharon Smidler, second.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Would you guys like a voice vote for this? Or a roll call?
I think a voice vote is fine for this.
Okay, thanks, Chet. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody. And then the next item would be an update from Miles on the Cmac and Rstp allocation plan, whenever you're ready.
Sure. Hi, good morning, everyone. So this is just a
Morning.
quick update on the Rstp Cmac program development for FY 23 to 28. So as you know, we generally bring the draft allocations to TAC in March. This year, we were hoping to have an actual budget. I know the last 2 years we've been delayed on putting together the plans, but we have been working with VDOT and we've received confirmation that we won't have an update to the budget numbers for March. So staff is prepared to move ahead using the previous estimates from the FY 22 SIP, and we will have those ready later this month. What we are asking from TAC is to go ahead with a special meeting on the 21st of this month. That's 2 weeks from yesterday. So that we'll be able to have draft allocations available to enter in GEDMON for the draft SIP. And then just for informational purposes, if we're using the same numbers as last year, the most likely outcome of this process will be no new projects selected again for the second year. So just so everyone's prepared for that at the next meeting, that's the most likely outcome that we're expecting at this point. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we just want to make sure there's a consensus to have that special meeting later this month.
Okay, thank you, Miles. Any questions for Miles? Okay. I kind of got distracted for a second, Miles. I'm sorry. Did you ask us for an action on anything?
We don't need any action. I didn't hear anyone disagree with the idea of holding a meeting. So we can send out a when is good and try and get a time for that week of the 21st, as I mentioned.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you very much, Miles. If there are no questions, we'll move on to item 7, transportation agency updates. Tiffany, you're up first. Did you have an update?
Yes, I do. I have a very brief update for this month. Couple of items. First of all, you should be, this is more for the TPO staff, there will be updated representation letters sent out this month for changes that will go into effect, hopefully if I get my act together by April. For the Richmond TPO, you will have the same primaries for both policy and for tax. So you will still have me, but we'll just be identifying a new alternate for you all. So his name is Daniel Wagner, and I think I've introduced him in ad nauseum now for the past couple months, but now will be official via a representation letter. Besides that, I just wanted to make sure we remind everyone about Smart Scale Round 5. I know Nicole will have more information about that, and we've talked about that enough today. But if there are any questions related to transit and rail applications, I do provide, again, points of contact for our agency that you can reach out to, but you can also reach out to me. The big thing for our agency update is that starting next week, we'll be launching our Rediscover Your Ride campaign. This is supposed to be aimed at safely and confidently encouraging Virginians to return to transit services that were used prior to the pandemic. It's a twofold approach. One is a statewide marketing campaign that will consist of a unified message to hopefully attract riders back to our Virginia transit systems, also reiterating the presence of the safety measures for our systems, and then provide an explanation on why public transportation is a safe and viable option. That marketing campaign includes radio ads as well as regional TV ads and other information about that. We do also have marketing materials that are available for use at transitva.org. That's our website for this effort. And there's a whole list of marketing materials, but if there's requests for some customization, we do have a point of contact on our communications team, Miriam Foster, who can help you with that. The last thing I want to mention with the campaign is that there is some transit recovery marketing initiative funding. This is going to be eligible for marketing projects and expenses related to kind of marketing ridership back to our public transportation services. Eligible organizations include public transportation service providers, PDCs, MPOs, as well as local governments and any other transportation management associations. For more information about that, feel free to just reach out to me at any point, but we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware about this campaign. And that's my agency update. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Tiffany. Any questions for Tiffany? Any hands? Okay. Next we have DR. Oh, sorry.
Last thing. So I appreciate Chet. So really quick, there was also questions about Section 5303 in Olga. So we didn't have this in the update because I was hoping by now we would have an actual update to Olga. As of right now, the website is still currently down. And so for our MPOs that are asking questions about Section 5303, we will be developing a manual application that you will be able to submit so that you will still be able to put it together by the May 2nd or 3rd deadline. But unfortunately, right now, I don't actually even have a clear update about where we are with Olga. So still follow the same procedures if you are submitting reimbursements, invoices, and that nature. But when I get an update, I'll be sure to share that with everyone because I would love Olga to be back as well. And now I'm done. Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Tiffany. Next, we'll go to GRTC, and I think there are several folks from GRTC. I don't know who's going to do the update.
I volunteer as tribute.
Okay,
we don't really have we don't have too many updates. We're still holding our jurisdictional meetings for the microtransit study. Still working on the regional transit vision plan, so not really any new news there. Still working to try and get the RFP for the north-south BRT study out on the street. Hopefully within the next few months, we'll be able to kind of get that out and begin this project, this summer. So that's really all I had.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Any questions for Sam? Okay, then we'll go to Ride Finders. John, did you have an update?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. I did have a few items that I wanted to let everybody know about that Ride Finders is doing. We did apply for the Commuter Assistance Program grant for the van pool program with the Department of Rail and Public Transportation. We also submitted the Commuter Assistance Program monthly report to the DRPT. We're also active with the Virginia Transit Association, and they have an annual conference coming up later this year. And Ride Finders did submit a thing to do van pooling 101. So we're working on that. We did create and post the January recap on our website. We did share partner updates on Facebook and Twitter. We continue to launch and talk about our Care and Commutes Challenge. Continue to promote the Be the CEO of Your Commute. And we also continue to work with GRTC on their microtransit and telework projects as well. And that's just a quick recap of some of the things that we've been doing up at Ride Finders, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions for John? Okay, seeing none. Last but not least, we'll go to Nicole with VDOT.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you don't have the VDOT update before you. Minimize this. I'll start with the CTB February meeting update. There were workshop presentations on transportation performance management, the Highway Traffic Noise Guidance Manual, and the Economic Development Access Program. At their action meeting, the board approved the Economic Development Access Fund Policy 2022 revision. The next workshop is scheduled for March the 15th at 10 a.m. and the action meeting is scheduled for March 16th at 9 a.m. Currently, as of right now, this is scheduled for 2 days, but there is a potential for a schedule change. So I included the link to the CTB schedule in case they decide to hold both on the same day. Moving on to Smart Scale Round 5, the technical guide is available on the Smart Scale website. Pre-application, the portal opened a week ago. The submission deadline for pre-application is April the 1st at 5 p.m. We provided a very helpful pre-application training that is available for you to view. OIP is also working on providing additional short pre-app videos for you to view, and that should be available on the website soon. I will always remind you for the foreseeable future that concept and application development assistance is available through VDOT Richmond District Planning. I've included Jake's email for that. The cost estimating training has been rescheduled and will be held on March the 24th and the 25th. This should be very helpful to you as final estimates are due for the final applications this summer. And again, this is a 2-day training at the Richmond District office. Moving on to SIP development, the development of the FY 23 to 28 6-year improvement program is now underway. The draft SIP will be presented to the CTB in April, and the final SIP will be provided for CTB action in June. The Richmond District public meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April the 28th at 4 p.m. Fall Line Trail update. We're still working with localities and CVTA staff to determine which segments of the trail can be advanced most efficiently. 3 potential scenarios on trail implementation were presented to the Fall Line Working Group on March the 2nd. I did include a budget update. Both the House and the Senate are proposing different things with funding regarding Fall Line, and that varies from the governor's proposed budget, which would provide $207 million for planning, development, and construction of multi-use trails. The House proposes to dedicate $9.2 million for the Fall Line, and the Senate would set aside $20 million in year 1 and $20 million in year 2 for regional multi-use trails. And last but not least, I just mentioned again, the 6-year plan public hearing at the Richmond District will be on Thursday, April the 28th. And that's all I have, Kelly.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Anybody have any questions for Nicole? Okay, I don't see anyone. Okay, moving on to item 8, the future meeting topics. Let me turn to that. Those are on the list on the last page of the packet. I see about 5 items. Did you want to say anything about those, Chet?
Nope.
Okay.
Unless there's anything that anyone wants to add, we're just putting that up for information.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to TAC member comments. Anyone have anything they'd like to say? Okay, hearing none. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 12th. I assume same time, same Zoom channel. And then, like Miles said, he'll send out a poll for our special TAC meeting to talk about Rstp and Cmac. All right, if there's nothing else, we will adjourn. I'm just going to look to see if there's anybody's hand. Okay, I don't see anyone. All right, thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, thanks.